everyone, and welcome into crushthestreet.com. I got a brand new guest on the line, Jason Appleton. His website, jasonappleton.com. He's got a very popular crypto channel. If you want to know about what's going on in cryptocurrency and some deep analysis on it, definitely check out Jason's website. He's putting on a conference here shortly that I highly recommend you look into and consider attending. We'll talk about that here today, but without any further ado, Jason Appleton, the Crypto Crow, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully I sound okay. I'm on my laptop. I'm not in my studio, so.
You sound great, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show with me today and just share your thoughts. Okay, so when the regulators kind of started to comment on Bitcoin and, what is it? Is it a cryptocurrency? Is it a digital asset? I mean, they ultimately decided it's a commodity. It's a security. And once that sort of
not a security
solidified, the market kind of slowed down. That kind of correlated with the top of the crypto market. Even the futures trading, that moment was kind of the top of the Bitcoin market and, the rest of the crypto market. And so I'd like to get your thoughts on where we are. Are we going to need to have that, lifting of the lid from the regulators, the SEC and the CFTC, to really see the cryptocurrency markets thrive in this environment?
So personally, I believe that we could do very well without institutional money.
And that's what we want, right?
Well, yeah. But realistically, I feel like so you figure 2017, December through January, you had a lot of latecomers kind of buy in. They FOMO'd into the market. They bought a bunch of stuff on the high. They weren't really privy to the annual market cycles or how things were working. And a lot of them got burned. Right. And then on top of that, you had a lot of crap projects that really didn't even belong in the space. They're just kind of, cash grab operations with low rent teams, if they had teams, faked teams, white papers that promised the world and were very difficult to deliver on. But it all sounded great. And so you had all this money coming into the space, breaking all kinds of investment records. And then the market crashed. Everybody's cashing out, they're taking profit at a high, and then they're preparing for their capital gains tax and all that. Well, in that process, everybody before they go back in is waiting for the bottom. Nobody wants to buy in, midway through a downtrend, right? Where's the bottom going to be? And in the midst of all of that, you have the regulators. The regulators finally stepping in and saying, okay, we need to protect the people from investing into crap projects that have no merit. And so they started, kind of using some of these companies as, flagships, poster boys, if you will, just to let everybody know, look, we're actually looking into some of these projects. We're starting to regulate. We're finalizing our rules, our regulation terms, and all this. And because of that, then the institutions started taking interest. Okay, well, the SEC is going to start regulating this, clearing the pathway for us, the royalty of investment. And so now all the peasants, all of us little people, are basically waiting for royalty to be given the A-OK so that when their money's good enough for the space, then mine is too. And I feel like that's kind of what everybody's waiting on. They're waiting for the higher up, so to speak, to be approved. And that ultimately, the SEC is playing referee. And so the big ETF has become this staple point of, when is it safe to go back in? When is it safe? When am I buying into an uptrend or the very beginning of the uptrend? And people have kind of pegged this CBOE ETF as the end all be all. And they're saying, look, when the SEC approves this, institutional monies are now going to have a legitimate source for investing into cryptocurrencies en masse. And then it'll be my time to buy in before they start diving in as well. The thing of it is, though, is that the over-the-counter markets are significantly more bullish right now than the exchange markets and the retail market. A lot of these institutions are already buying in. They're not waiting for this ETF. They're buying in now over the counter. Multi-million-dollar trades are happening as we speak over the counter from the people that have those connections and the means of doing that. And it's not the retail market isn't going to be affected until something big happens, like this ETF approval, and then the retail investors say, okay, time to get back into my exchange account and buy. So what a lot of people are waiting to happen is actually already happening in various avenues, but it's not open. It's not as transparent to the typical retail investor. So it's kind of a funny cat and mouse game that we have going on right now. And I figure we'll find out in February, potentially sooner, but I don't see anything happening until February. And that's kind of where I see things.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's unfortunate because, once the regulators get involved, investing in certain projects only becomes for the accredited investor. Only accredited investors have access to these opportunities. And it's kind of an interesting thing because only people that are already rich have the opportunity to get richer in a sense. And, like you described, the kind of the rest of everybody else, the peasants per se, are going to get separated out from these opportunities. And that's not the point of cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency market is really power to the small guy in so many ways. And we've seen that around the world with Bitcoin and all of the different cryptos offering opportunities to the unbanked, everyone in Africa and, Venezuela and people that have dealt with, currency control. So would you have anything else to add to that? And, the dichotomy, this weird dynamic going on between having to be rich to be able to invest in these opportunities, which might be life-changing.
So one of the reasons why the crypto market blew up as it did is because for a while, any Tom, Dick, or Harry, or Felicia or Jen could go in, throw some Ethereum at an ICO and turn a fat profit, right? It was an opportunity. It was a small window, but it was a large enough window that it was able that a lot of the crypto space was able to capture the interest of the non-investor types. I mean, that's really who we pulled in. We pulled in a lot of non-investor types, those that are not accredited investors, people that may have had $100 or $1,000 to, divvy up between a series of projects that they felt might be fruitful and not have to worry about any regulation or KYC or, money laundering, or nobody was doing any of that for the longest time for a while. And, now that all of that is taking shape, the reality of this all is, while this is a significant transfer of wealth right now, nobody is going to completely defeat or overthrow those that have. In other words, the major Bitcoin holders, the whales, the billionaire stock investors, the corporations, the venture capitalists, the institutions, nobody is going to overthrow their rule over investment capital. Nobody is going to kind of push them down a notch, so to speak. They will always retain control of financial markets in one way, shape, or form. The decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies as a whole, while a powerful influence in technology and society as a whole, based off of the different use cases and products and all of this stuff that we're going to be coming out with, that is going to empower a lot more people to do and achieve a lot more with their dollar, I believe. But we're still going to have to play by the same rules that have been played in the stock market, commodities trading, anything that came before. That's just not going to change. And there's no way, just because Bitcoin is decentralized, yada yada yada, and all these decentralized blockchains, the technology is going to be extremely useful, and we're able to get in at the very ground floor, but we're not going to overthrow the powers that be just because this technology is new.
So, Jason, How important to you, and maybe not to you, but how important do you feel price has been to the growth and the build out of cryptocurrency? Without 2017, would we be here discussing this? The massive bull market that we saw in 2017, how important is it to all of the different projects that are being built out in the cryptocurrency space?
Well, overall, you see a lot of, we saw a lot of ICO companies, a lot of new projects launch a crowd offering, a public sale. And, while at the time in the height of the market, some of these companies were getting $50-60 million for an idea in a white paper, after the end of, end of January into February and on down the line, this downtrend, unless they liquidated the Ethereum or the higher dollar cryptocurrencies that they obtained during their public sales, well, their funds, their assets dwindled along with everyone else's. And so while there was this big bull run of people throwing money, dumping money on a high into Ethereum or Bitcoin, and then using that money to invest in projects, unless those projects sold, as soon as they got it, well, they took a dive as well. So what happened is, while we're sitting around talking about all these companies that scored $50 million, they didn't really score $50 million. I mean, technically, I guess they did, but that $50 million very easily became $5. And so now they're in realistic, funding levels, right? The problem is that the resources, the crypto that they obtained was paid for with a lot more fiat than it's worth now. So now we're at a point where it's not so much about the ICOs and these new projects coming out. It's which of these projects, and people are starting to learn, which of these projects are actually furthering their development in the midst of this downturn. Which ones can we trust moving forward in the next uptrend or the next quote unquote bull run? And so I think that's what we're trying to figure out now. Of all the companies that received millions and millions of dollars in cryptocurrency, which ones have played their cards right in the midst of all of this chaos? And those are going to be the ones that I feel become these rising phoenixes from the ashes of this Red Sea. And those are probably very likely going to be the ones that money goes back into with all of the other newcomers and the people. Realistically, I tell everybody, you buy when everyone else is fearful. Everybody's scared to death right now. I personally believe that the bottom's been found. I feel like we've already touched it. We've grown past it, and we're slowly, I mean, this is kind of another conversation, but ultimately I think we're in kind of a safe place at this point to get back into the market. And to get back into some of the best projects out there while they're still on like crazy lows. Like this is bargain basement. As long as the companies are proving their milestones, proving their progress, they're proving their commitment to development, and that's kind of where I think things are now. It's trying to figure out who's doing what.
Talking about these projects that were worth 50 million, now 5 million, reminded me of the Wolf of Wall Street. Fugazi. It's Fugazi.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it does at the time, but then it's gone. There wasn't real value there in the first place. But here we are at a fundamental building point. A lot of the speculation is gone. So you alluded to, a lot of the big money that's, bullish to the upside on these over-the-counter markets. What else out there is making you bullish on the cryptocurrency markets?
The technology. It's simple. We are still very much at the ground level of a completely new society. That's what I don't think people really take into consideration. This isn't about buying a coin. This isn't about buying some digital asset. That's really not what this is about. That is a byproduct of the innovation that we're experiencing right now. When I got into cryptocurrency, I didn't get into cryptocurrency because, wow, I'm going to become a millionaire. I got into cryptocurrency because I saw the idea and I understood where the technology was going to take us in the near and distant future. I mean, I was sitting down the other night and I was contemplating an idea for a new video. And I wish I had the means of doing this. I don't have a production company. but I want to basically take somebody and walk them through their everyday life today. I want to take them through going to their refrigerator. Their refrigerator knows they're 3 short on eggs. They're half a gallon empty on milk. And the Internet of Things protocols just pinging, knowing everything that's going on in that refrigerator, giving you the opportunity to automatically restock your fridge and have these groceries delivered to your house when you're down. Or you go to you leave the house to go to the grocery store. Everything is verified. Everything is dated, and all the data that's going to be available on a whim. When you're driving your car, how you drive. I mean, we've already seen some of this stuff with the little gadgets you can plug in and monitor how well you're driving, what your driving habits are like. But taking that to the next level, and just all of the ways that blockchain technology is truly going to redefine how we keep track of, utilize, and create data. And it's it's truly Internet 3.0. I mean, it's almost like taking the internet into the 4th dimension on so many levels. And so, when I got into this, I didn't get into this thinking I'm going to make so much money. I got into this because I saw it's just the opportunity. There's nothing but air and opportunity for innovation and new ideas on using new technologies to completely change the world and make things that much more easily controlled and useful. And so, that's where I think it all is, man. I think it's if you take the financial element out of it, and you take, okay, well, if I invest this much into this project and I could make this much, that's obviously what we all do. But that is all based off of what? The use case, mass adoption. How easy is the technology going to be used and by who? There are all these other factors. And then it's, how is this going to work in conjunction with the other technologies available in the space or being worked on? How is one going to help support the other to create this, call it a grand blockchain of interoperability, where every project is working hand in hand with another under the scene, behind the scenes, to a point where you don't even know it's there. And it's like I probably sound like I'm rambling crazy, but it's, when I think of the future, I think of all of these projects. And when I'm looking at a project, I think to myself, how is this going to change my life and my children's life in 5, 10, 20, 30 years? And how is that going to be a stepping stone proper to the next wave? And that's just my thought process to a lot of this stuff. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you did. I appreciate that. So what is your thoughts specifically on Bitcoin? Because obviously cryptocurrency or digital assets have a lot of different purposes out there. When I got into cryptocurrency, it was because of Bitcoin, and it was this money, this digital gold, if you would, and it was a means of transferring wealth for that specific use case. Now you're talking about use cases for all sorts of things. But what are your thoughts on Bitcoin, where we are now? And, are you bullish on Bitcoin itself, or are you, you more interested in other cryptos?
To me, Bitcoin is, how, in the, like in a vampire movie, and they say, if you cut the head off of the master vampire, all of his underlings die with him, like everybody he had changed during his lifetime. Sure. That to me is what Bitcoin is, right? It's like the Lord Vampire of all others, right? and that son of a bitch is not dying. Like he's not going anywhere. He's right. Safe. He's in his own hole somewhere doing his thing. And ultimately, I see Bitcoin as ultimately the store of value. I think we're going to see a lot of these leading projects. They're establishing their use cases. You're going to see all these credit cards. You're going to see people actively using cryptocurrency for transactional purposes, right? In stores and a point of sale and things like that. And I think that ultimately Bitcoin is, if anything, some of these other cryptocurrencies are going to retain their value, and they'll likely be, like Ripple will probably be used in point of sale to some degree. Even though that's not really the purpose of it, I can see that ultimately being used that way. But I think in the grand scheme, I see, just like with traders, If I take half a Bitcoin and then I go and invest that on an exchange and I'm either scalping trades or I'm swing trading or what have you, if that's what I'm doing, well, what am I doing then? Well, when I exit that position, I'm going back into Bitcoin, the object being to improve my Bitcoin position. And I feel that the same is going to be true whether you're trading or you're using a particular cryptocurrency. When you're done using that crypto, you're very likely going to convert it back into Bitcoin, which is the safe haven. So no matter what happens to this project or the CEO of any given, project or the team or whatever, international fluctuations in weather, you name it, I feel like Bitcoin is always going to be that safe haven that's used until you're ready to come out and play again.
Yeah. Do we dare call it the stable coin of the crypto markets? Yeah. So Jason, interesting. The mainstream media obviously is now more easily able to disparage and to treat us people who are interested in the crypto markets as
I
pariahs.
wouldn't even call it mainstream. I hate to interrupt you, but none of this bullshit that we're reading on the internet is mainstream media. Like if you're talking about CSNBC and Fox and all these, they still don't have a clue what the hell they're talking about. And the people that do have a clue what they're talking about are paying for placement and articles and news media all over the internet. So there really is no real news or mainstream anything. It's all commercial. Everything you read on the internet about crypto right now is a commercial. But go ahead.
I would actually agree with you on that. So I'm interested in getting your thoughts. So do you not believe that we're going to need the support of, again, the quote unquote mainstream media to see crypto do what it's going to do? Because last year, it was, I believe, the price and the fact that people were making, hundreds and millions of dollars to some degree and raising tons of money in the venture capitalist world. And it really was self-edifying. It's like, okay, you can ignore crypto if you want, but there's a lot of upside going on there, and they had to acknowledge it. But now it's like, okay, we're back into a bear market, and we can go back and disregard it once again. But
did Donald Trump need mainstream media support to get elected?
He didn't.
He didn't. Just the idea to some people was enough to carry that man into office. Being able to reach the right people at the right time doesn't necessarily mean you need mainstream media to support it. And I think that nowadays, especially the society, the group, the people in the know of cryptocurrency are very likely not sitting around watching Fox News. They're not sitting around watching CNN for the latest, scandal on whatever lying political crook is being talked about today. I mean, I feel like crypto already has its market defined. Now, are you saying will support of the media help bring in new fish? Absolutely it will. And the people that are in the know are going to chew those people up because we've all had to pay our dues to be where we're at in this crypto space. And I almost feel like unless you buy and hold, that's why a lot of people are like, look, you buy, hodl, whatever the hell you want to call it. I call it you crow your coins. Unless you buy and hold, if you buy something and hold it long term and wait for the project to develop and manifest itself into the use case you expect it to be, you're going to be taken advantage of by somebody with more resources and more power than you. And it's likely you're going to sell at a loss, you're going to kick yourself, and because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So the safest, I've just read in a book that they did some studies of people that were swing traders, day traders, and buy and hold. And a very, very good swing or day trader could potentially earn about 20% more than a long-term holder. But there's also significantly higher chances of loss in that same strategy. And so maybe you don't make as much as a professional individual in the space by buying and holding it, but it's a much safer position, provided you made the right decision to buy it to begin with. So anyway, yeah, mainstream media, to me, mainstream media is a big joke. Everything, I mean, all the way down to local advertising.
Well, that's definitely a welcomed opinion here on this show. This is why YouTube and the internet has been so beautiful. This decentralized platform, not YouTube so much, but I am a half glass full sort of guy, and I am very grateful for what YouTube has brought to the table. I believe it's platforms like YouTube and Twitter and the internet itself that gave Donald Trump and opened up the opportunity for something like Bitcoin to really get the attention it deserves, despite what Google is doing now. Having said that, let's close out this interview. I want, if you are comfortable, share some of your top places that you're putting your money right now. What are some of the top crypto projects that you're most excited about?
So I am obviously a lot of my followers and my fans, they call me King Cardano. I'm extremely bullish on Cardano for 2019. I think that I've talked to Charles privately. Obviously, I've done some interviews with him, and I'm actually getting ready to interview CTO of Emergo here pretty soon. We're going to be talking in depth about the new wallet and a lot of other stuff going on. I just see Cardano as really taken over in 2019, man, for a lot of different reasons. And but outside of that, Aeon is something that I've been very bullish on. I'm shooting video. What's one of the reasons I'm on my laptop, because my studio is set up to be shooting my How to Build a Mining Rig series that I'm working on. And I'm building this mining rig not for Ethereum, but for Aeon. I want to mine Aeon because I think while it's a longer term kind of project, it's all about interoperability. It's all about making one blockchain work cohesively with another. And I think that's going to be extremely important as a lot of the projects that have been invested in 2017 start really reaching their milestones and launching their mainnets and use cases. And I think that something like Aeon is going to play a pretty significant role in facilitating a lot of that cohesive use, right? Matrix AI is another one. I have a list of like 35 that I really like, man. Some everybody knows, and some of them I feel like are fairly sleepers. So, but those, I mean, obviously Ethereum, a lot of people say, is Ethereum dead? Ethereum's not dead. Ethereum is still half of the world of cryptocurrency was just built on Ethereum over the last year. Like, it's not going any damn where. I think it's down now like everything else. And keep in mind, when I first got into crypto, Ethereum was $150. And within I don't know, 90 days or more, it was at like 1,500. So you can never count out any particular coin or project until it's officially dead. When the team is dead or they've all moved off to Boca Raton and there's no new development, then it's dead. Until then, I've learned that a lot of these developers, man, they've got their nose to the grindstone. They're working, they're developing, and they're trying to, stay in the race. So, yeah, but those are some of my top favorite.
Jason Appleton, everyone. Jason, if you would share some more information if people wanted to visit your website and obviously the conference that you have coming up shortly.
Sure. Basically, my big thing now is about mass adoption. I want to get as many people educated on cryptocurrency heading into any next bull run or uptrend as I possibly can. And my channel's the Crypto Crow. It's Crypto Crow on YouTube. I also have a television show on Biz TV that airs, I think, Saturday mornings and Saturday evenings, or Saturday afternoons at I think 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And I think they're still airing me on Tough TV as well, but I don't remember what day or time. But you can look it all up if you're interested. Chainwise.us is my convention. Basically, it's all about mass adoption. I think it's probably the only cryptocurrency conference in history to only charge $20 a ticket. The idea being, I want everybody that's curious to come, be educated, and leave an expert. And that's ultimately what it's all about. I want everybody to learn. This isn't a cash grab by any stretch. Even the booths for companies, $1,500, you get a booth. And on top of that, once all expenses for the conference have been paid, 50% of all the ticket sales I'm donating to Shriners Burn Hospital in Cincinnati. So this is definitely not at all I'm going to make some money off of this convention. I want you, your brother, your mother, and everyone else you know to come in a group and go and be educated on what's changing our world right now under your very own eyes, and better understand how you can benefit from it before it's too late.
A lot of genuine people in the crypto space, and I really appreciate that. So, Jason Appleton, everyone, Jason, thanks for coming on Crush the Street.
Absolutely, man. I'm a new fan. Thanks a lot.